I ever tell you guys that story? I must have told this story. The time I went to the Montreal Expos game by myself. I was doing this gig in upstate New York, and, I was trying to go to all the fucking stadiums. So I was like, all right, well, let's see. Does Montreal? Yeah, they got a fucking game. So they had a game the next day. So I went up. I did this gig. I think I did the Lake Ontario Playhouse. I know I've told this story before. But maybe I got a few listeners. Maybe from somebody from Chechnya is listening. Maybe somebody from Romania. Anyways, so there was a game the next day. So I ended up trying to cross the border into Canada. This is pre 9/11, by the way, in a very weird spot by myself. So I get stopped at the border. The guy asked me, he's like, "Oh, so what are you doing there, fella?" He's a Canadian dude. And I said, "I'm going to an Expos game." Now, the Expos had lost probably about, 120 games at that point during the season. And he goes, "Oh, you meeting some friends up there?" And I was like, "Nope, going by myself." He was like, "Oh, hey, pal, would you mind pulling over right there for a second?" So he asked me pull over, and like two more of these fucking guys come out. And they start ripping apart my car, and they send me inside, and I'm like, what the fuck? Is this some sort of random drug search? And I'm just sitting there watching them, and they're ripping it apart, and then it suddenly fucking dawns on me. Like, what kind of a fucking loser? I mean, I was like 2 hours away. I was going to drive 2 hours out of my way to go up there to go to a Montreal Expos game by myself. This guy could not fathom that any human being, even one that looked like me, would have that much of a pathetic moment in their life. He was convinced I was some sort of drug mule or whatever. I guess drug mules, is that when you have it up your ass? Well, they never check my ass. They just check the fucking car. So it suddenly dawned on me that they thought there was no way that I was that pathetic. But I knew the real answer was, yes, I was that pathetic. So it just struck me as funny, and I started laughing, and I couldn't stop. And I remember the cop looking over at me, and he saw me laughing, and I think he thought I was laughing like he couldn't find the drugs. So they were out there for like a fucking half hour. And then once I knew that they thought I had drugs, then I was just kind of acting like a dick, and I had a shit-eating grin on my face as I came walking up smiling. And the guy was getting mad, like I was smiling like he didn't find it or whatever. And then I went up there. And this fucking French cunt acted like he didn't understand what I said when I asked him to take my picture, because I didn't have anybody to take my picture because I was by myself. I had one of those disposable cameras. The story just keeps getting worse and worse. When I called him a cunt, he laughed and walked away. So anyways, I was sitting out in like fucking left field. And it was such an old stadium, I don't know, and just under budget. They got socialism up there, and they just don't step on the poor the way we do up here. Out in the outfield, your seat only had one armrest. That's what I remember. Either on the left or on the right, I can't remember what. And I was sitting out there, and all the fans were not paying attention to the game. The fans that showed up, and they were just singing, "Ole, ole, ole, ole," that soccer fucking song. And I was watching, I swear to God, I saw this guy, and I'm like, I watched this guy steal home plate, and I'm way out in left field, so I jumped up. I was like, yeah, when he stole home plate, and nobody else jumped up with me, and it was really quiet in the stadium. So then I was like, oh, fuck, maybe that was something else. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it was a pass ball, maybe it was a balk. I didn't know what. So I fucking sat back down and felt stupid because everyone was looking at me. And then later on that night, I was back at the fucking hotel, and I was watching TSN. That's their ESPN up there. And they're like, oh, here's something you don't see every day. And they showed a guy stealing home plate. And I was like, I fucking knew it. That's my Expo story. Not riveting, but not boring. Was there a point to any of that? I don't think there was. Anyways, this is one of the greatest times of the year in United States sports. And who's kidding? Our sports are the best. If you don't believe it, if you don't believe our athletes are the best, I'm telling you, you need to watch the Olympics. Okay? All of our white athletes dominating all of those games. Well, maybe we do. We do well in the Winter Olympics, don't we? No, we don't. We lose to the fucking Canadians. We beat the Canadians in like the juniors. We always beat them because anybody like our age has already made it up to the fucking NHL. But you got to give those Canadians something. Hockey. They got you. You got to let them have hockey, even though the Russians are kind of slowly taking it away from them. A lot of European players. The game is slowly being taken away from their sticky, syruped fingers up there. Okay? We all understand this, all right? And they're going to hang on for dear fucking life. Because if Canada, God forbid, ever was to lose hockey, what would they be left with? Huh? What would they be left with? That shuffleboard on ice that they play? What do they call it? What do they call that? What the fuck is it? You slide. You just let that fucker go. All right? That big, sort of a wheel, isn't it? It's a rim. Kind of looks like a rim off of a Jeep that they turn into a giant hockey puck. That's what it is. It's an obese hockey puck. What the fuck do you call it? Curling. I don't know why they call it curling. There's no hooking. There's nothing like that. You know, fucking, I have no idea. Anyways, you have playoff baseballs coming up. Hoop is going to start. Hockey's going to start. College and pro football's going. The CFL is getting close to the Grey Cup. All right? I mean, just what else could you want? Okay? The Formula One and MotoGP are going to be wrapping up here in the next 40 days. This is exciting fucking times. Let's check out the baseball standings, shall we, everybody? Who do we got here? Oh, look at those Boston Red Sox. Hanging on for dear life. 3 games ahead of the New York Yankees. Tampa Bay Devil Rays, soon to be Montreal Expos. Spoiler alert.